Now, Jeff mentioned the fact that you're living lifetime after lifetime, and I've mentioned that too. And we're not attacking Scientology's beliefs. They can believe anything that they want. They just can't behave any way that they desire. And one of the byproducts of believing that you've lived millions of lifetimes in Scientology is that they believe that children are really, ageless beings, and they can be plucked away from their families at a very young age and put to work. And our next speaker faced that very thing when she was recruited at an extraordinarily young age to work for Scientology. And if you would, please welcome Laura Decrescenzo.
Thank you. As he mentioned, I joined the Sea Org actually when I was 12 years old. I was actually born into Scientology, but both of my parents were Scientologists and had been doing courses in Scientology in Portland, Oregon. And I actually did my first course when I was about 6 or 7 years old and signed my first contract, the billion-year contract that was mentioned, at the age of 7 or 8. I started working in an organization in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the age of 9. I got a worker's permit somehow. I don't even know how I managed to do this, but when I was 10, I got a worker's permit and was getting paid peanuts for, working usually about 30 to 40 hours a week at 9 until I was about 12 when I joined the Sea Org. The person who came to Albuquerque to recruit me basically promised all of these things that seemed great to my parents, so somehow they convinced them to let me go, which meant I moved to Los Angeles. They included things like I would continue my schooling, I would be able to have kids when I got older, and I'd be able to have kids and move back to Albuquerque, or I would do what was called the bridge to total freedom. As other people had mentioned, I would get all of that for free because I was working for them. All of my medical and dental expenses, which at the age of 12, as you can imagine, most kids have cavities, have dental work that needs to be done. I'd be able to go home and visit my parents even up to once a month if I wanted to because of my age. All of these promises were made, and it was made to seem like something that was going to be a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, most of those all turned out to be completely and utterly false. Because I was 12, I was considered I was very qualified. I had no life. As I'm sure you can imagine, most 12-year-olds go to school, play video games, and don't really have any history that would make them unqualified for what they considered the higher organizations in the Sea Organization. In fact, one of the things that they make you do when you're in the Sea Org is they fill out what's called a life history form. It's about 8 pages of extremely personal questions, everything from every medication you've ever taken to any drugs you've taken, every date you've ever gone on, every sexual experience you've ever had in great detail. And then they put you on an e-meter, their lie detector basically, to verify that you're telling the truth. And at 12, my life history had nothing. It was a bunch of no, 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 no. So I was like considered prime pickings for them. Not to mention the fact that at 12, your mind's basically an open slate. You can be programmed however they want you to be. So I joined the Sea Org. I left my parents and moved to Los Angeles. As I mentioned, pretty much everything that they had promised me was a lie. I didn't continue my schooling hardly at all. I would go once a week maybe with no trained teacher. And then it came to visiting my parents. Here I am, 12 years old. I wanted to go home and see my parents for a weekend. My first visit home was a complete and utter nightmare. I was supposed to leave on a plane, and within a few hours of the plane leaving, I was told that I couldn't leave unless I had gone on their e-meter and done a security check. And I was like, well, my mom has bought me a non-refundable ticket. How am I supposed to do this? I'm supposed to leave in a couple hours. They said, well, you can't. If you do, you're gonna be subject to justice when you come back. That basically means that my position in the organization that I was in would be negated. It meant a lot of things to when you're in the Sea organization. A justice action's considered scary. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to do this? I'm supposed to get on this plane. My mom, you don't mess with my mom's money, you know what I mean? This is a non-refundable ticket. So I said, okay, I'm going to go anyway. So I actually went to the complex where I had my birthing at the time. I had gone from the HGB over to the complex, and I got into the super shuttle in the horseshoe of the complex, and security actually came out and physically prevented me from leaving. I had locked the door because I saw somebody from security coming. I was freaking out. I was like, I have to go. And he reached in and unlocked the door, opened the door, preventing the super shuttle from leaving. So from the very beginning, you can see it was taught to me that you don't mess with them. They're going to keep you here even if you don't want to be there. And anyway, I ended up catching the plane about 24 hours later, and it was on a flight that was arranged by them. Here I am, 12 years old. I left LAX at about 11 p.m. at night with an hour layover in Las Vegas, Nevada. As a mother now myself, I cringe at the thought, because here I am, 12 years old in Las Vegas airport in the middle of the night, arriving in Albuquerque at 3 a.m. Anyway, pretty much every time I wanted time off, it became a similar thing. It was a nightmare every single time. I ended up getting married at 16. In the Sea Org, that's very common because you really can't do anything physically with the person that you're dating or whatever until you're married. And I got married, and I'd wanted kids. I'd said that when I joined the Sea Org, I was planning on having children. And I'm about to talk to you about something that is extremely personal, but I'm